ultimate classic.
Tobacco Blonde is a great example of a perfume named for a very specific time in our history.
To the bizarre.
Mon fluide, my fluid. Secretions magnifique. It sounds like a French stripper.
Barb Stegemann has created a new perfume that she hopes will change the world. All it needs now is a name.
This name has to capture all the players, and there's a lot of them.
Her enthusiasm was unbelievable.
To help, we turn to connoisseurs of the perfume business.
Names and fragrances need to be evocative of the cultural mood.
Hey, Pete Rose! What's a man really want from an aftershave?
We're here to answer needs and desires. The names have to convey what that promise is going to be.
As we look to the past to find out what's in a name. Meet Barb Stegemann. She owns a Nova Scotia-based perfume company called Seven Virtues, and she's out to change the world, one spritz at a time.
This is so important to me. I think the only way I can really describe it is I have a call to do this.
Her plan is to create a new perfume made from rose oils from Afghanistan and give farmers there something to grow other than the poppies that fuel the deadly heroin trade. Barb's mission is both altruistic and personal.
My best friend was severely wounded in Afghanistan. He was struck in the head by a Taliban axe. My life went upside down that day, and I started reflecting on how I could support the mission, how I could be a part of the change for the good people there.
This is about celebrating the difference that we can make in the world if we empower the people who live in the countries that are challenged.
So what we're going to focus on is keeping the fragrance natural and pure.
I would love to have a scent that makes people go, what is that?
It's a lofty ambition. And if Barb's new scent is to resonate in a huge industry dominated by big competition, what she calls it is critical.
Names and fragrances, they need to be evocative of what the cultural mood is at the moment.
Through the years, perfume has always aimed to hit the zeitgeist. In the 1920s, Tobacco Blonde, or white tobacco, captured the spirit of a new breed of young woman.
Tobacco Blonde is a great example of a perfume named for a very specific time in our history.
White tobacco. This was really the scent of the flappers. Women had just chopped their hair off, they got rid of the bustle, the bustier and the corset, they were binding their breasts, and their last act of defiance was to put a white Virginia cigarette in a cigarette holder so they could blow smoke into the face of the men who were trying to seduce them.
A true fragrance pioneer, Jean Patou introduced his perfume Joy at the height of the Great Depression.
The name Joy is one of the most brilliant names that I've ever heard.
Joy was a perfume specifically created to ease the stress from the Wall Street crash. And yet, ironically, it was the single most expensive perfume created at the time.
The women's right movement introduced the term feminist to the world.
In the 70s, when you had the age of the independent women, so you had names like Charlie. In the 80s, that was a decade of over-the-top emotionalism, materialism, so you had names ranging from opium to obsession.
By the beginning of the 21st century, the focus was on sex.
There's a reason why you're getting Pussy Deluxe and Bang Now. It's because we sort of relaxed our standards as to what's an acceptable perfume name. Who knows what's going to be next? Maybe it'll be FCUK, but those two letters won't be rearranged in the middle.
Barb isn't looking for a sexy or playful name for her perfume. She wants something from the heart to reflect the cause in which she's invested so much.
This name has to capture all the players, and there's a lot of them. I won't settle for anything less than a word that honors them.
The mother of two has maxed out her credit cards, getting this project off the ground. She also attracted the attention of one of Canada's most high-profile venture capitalists, Brett Wilson.
She walked in and her enthusiasm was unbelievable. This will be one of the better investments I've ever made when you look at complete return on investment in terms of her, the business, and the people we're empowering.
This is red ginger, which is very spicy, again in the Oriental category.
Oh, I love this.
Brett came on board with $75,000, giving Barb time to perfect the fragrance. Now she's ready to christen her spicy blend. To help Barb choose, the Canadian public has been posting names online. Thousands of suggestions have been whittled down to a short list of 5. With the help of her friends and investors, she must choose only one.
Oh, look at this. Hey!
Look what I have! I'm going to start with the first one. Forgiven.
I think it's nice when you say it comes of good things, like joy comes to mind.
The thing is, forgiven is past tense. It sounds like, oh, it's all achieved, it's all done. It's not. The next one, it's 152.
152. That's the number of Canadian soldiers who died in Afghanistan as of October 2010.
The next one, barbed wire.
I like it.
Did some past boyfriend submit this?
It's you. You are wired, you are Barb. It's pretty obvious to me.
Okay, the next fragrance name is the Noble Rose of Afghanistan.
I like it. I think it's long. I think the name is a little long.
The fifth one is Rose of Peace.
Did you say Rose of Peas?
Rose of Peas, that's what I heard.
Rose of Peas.
From the list, Barb can choose only one, but how to pick? The wrong name could create the wrong impression, like Secretions Magnifique.
Secretions Magnifique is a terrible name for a perfume. It's a terrible name, period. It sounds like a French stripper.
Another curiously named scent from the 1940s, Le Vierge Folle.
The foolish or crazy virgin. And I love the idea of a man bringing that home to the woman in his life and saying, darling, I thought of you.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to just be careful in general when we're talking about naming perfume products. If you call your product White Shoulders, it's probably not going to take the consumer to maybe the fashion side, which is where you wanted them to go. It's going to take them to literally dandruff.
Because it reminds me of Head and Shoulders.
Maybe. Although White Shoulders, from Elizabeth Arden, is still in production after 55 years.
A little grandma-like?
Proof that sometimes even the strangest names can still find their market. And that you don't always have to sell romance and glamour for a perfume to work. That's what Barb is counting on.
To be honest with you, her story is the part that's really going to get people excited about this particular product and this brand and get them to buy it.
It's all about product differentiation. This isn't just another rose-based perfume.
But how can a perfume inspired by war succeed? And if it's going to, which of the 5 names will work best?
The words we use to describe people, the words we use to describe a product, a culture, says everything and sends a very powerful message.
Cosmetics queen Elizabeth Arden scored a huge success in 1934 with the launch of the now classic perfume, Bluegrass. But her sales team thought the name stunk and would drive customers away. What was the inspiration for the name? Was it grass, her favorite town in southern France, the Kentucky stables where she bred horses, or a type of country music that she loved? Find out after the break.
Born to Drive.
Canadian Florence Nightingale Graham, aka Elizabeth Arden, built a cosmetics empire in the US. She was also a passionate horse breeder and named her perfume Bluegrass after the fields where she stabled her thoroughbred horses. Luckily, the horsey name wasn't the kiss of death her sales team worried it would be. Choosing a name for a perfume is a tricky business, the difference between success and failure. Barb Stegemann has 5 to choose from.
Oh my God, if we got it wrong. It's not possible. We have no room to get this wrong.
Tonight, we're testing Barb's potential names on a handful of key players.
Oh, are you excited? Yeah.
We brought 5 men and 5 women together. The women each show up with a piece of lingerie for our little unscientific experiment. Here's how it works. Each garment gets a dose of Barb's perfume and is then sent down the bar for the fellas to sample. The guys have also been given 5 bottles and asked to match scent to name.
Little floral, little naughty. Barbed wire. Barbed wire it is.
Although the fragrances come from 5 different bottles with 5 different names, the guys have no idea it's actually all the same perfume.
It's more fruity than rosy.
We wanted to know, does the name make a difference in how they experience the perfume?
That is Noble Rose. It smells pretty noble.
Does a name evoke a different smell?
Oh wow, yours is completely different from mine. Okay, I'm feeling citrus. I'm thinking lemon.
But citrus is lemony. It's sour. Would sour be forgiveness?
Prompted by the different labels, the guys are definitely finding differences between the scents.
I'm not really getting fruity at all. It's really strong scent.
I would think the Noble is the more softer one.
Clearly, these names have power and evoke unique responses.
I feel like this is more peaceful.
What does peace? What does peace smell like?
I don't know. It's
He smells like
soothing.
this.
I think that's what peace smells like. See, we didn't get them all right.
You got a lot wrong.
This evening's test appears to prove it is possible to create smell illusions with words. Useful information for Barb. The first name is 152, the number of Canadian soldiers killed in Afghanistan as of October 2010. Though Barb was inspired by her wounded friend, it's not necessarily the direction she wants the name to go.
I don't want to draw any attention to the passing of our brave soldiers. There are no words to convey how much respect I have and Canadians have for the families who've lost their children.
I hope that it doesn't become 153, but the chances are it will be. And so the name becomes a little outdated.
I think numbers are always intriguing, and you can look at many successes in perfumery history where numbers have worked actually very well.
It's true, perfume named for numbers is a proven winner.
Chanel No. 5, that's the ultimate classic, and today still in the top 10 fragrance. It's Coco Chanel in her most avant-garde, the way she named it, which was, I believe, she had 5 fragrances, and it was the 5th that she selected.
It also got some really heavy, powerful celebrity endorsements along the way from Marilyn Monroe, who famously declared that she doesn't wear anything to bed except Chanel No. 5.
You also have Carolina Herrera with 212. 212 is, of course, the telephone number for New York.
Evoking the romance and glamour of the Big Apple, 212 was a huge success.
We're here to answer needs and desires. The names have to convey what that promise is going to be.
And it's not just women who clamor for glamour in their perfume. Men's cologne accounts for 1/3 of the $6 billion a year North American fragrance industry. Unlike women who want fragrance to conjure beauty and romance, men want scent to ramp up machismo.
Hey, Pete Rose! What's a man really want from an aftershave?
A man wants to smell like a man.
Aquavelva, Aramis, classic manly names. But Barb isn't chasing the guys.
I've got a new fragrance I'm launching. I'd love if you try it out. Okay.
She is, however, trying to land a coveted space at Canada's largest retailer, The Bay. On this day, Barb's doing a demo on the cosmetics floor, testing her second name choice, Forgiven.
Different people have sent in names for us to choose, and I thought maybe you could tell me your thoughts.
Forgiven, it sort of has a negative connotation, as if, something bad happened.
Forgiven, to forgive, is absolutely crucial. That's very powerful.
Does it mean you're forgiven, someone else is forgiven? It sounds like the aftermath of a quarrel. I would say it's a terrible name.
Perfumes aren't about forgiveness. They're about confidence. They're about dominance, if anything. So Forgiven is just a terrible name for a perfume. Good name for a Western. No, sorry. That was Unforgiven. I apologize.
What male cologne was actually so intoxicating it was used as a drink by World War II soldiers when alcohol was in short supply? Was it Old Spice, Aquavelva, or Brut? Find out after the break. Aquavelva, launched in 1929, was originally advertised as a mouthwash. It had an alcohol content so high that soldiers drank it when booze ran dry on the European front.
The oils travel on the most dangerous highways in the world.
Barb Stegemann has considered 2 names for her perfume, 152 and Forgiven. Time for another.
Barbed wire?
Yeah, I think of the word barbed wire. I'm thinking of that as something that keeps people out. And what we're trying to do is open the doors to the banquet and include others. Yeah, I don't know if the person that suggested it thought maybe because my name is Barb, that was part of it.
Barbed wire is very negative. You feel pain with barbed wire.
Terrible. Forget it.
Barbed wire may not be a winner with our experts, but it is part of a tradition of perfumes named after people.
Estee Lauder launched a man's fragrance called JHL, which were the initials of her husband.
One of Mrs. Lauder's earliest fragrances, Estee, she chose to name after herself because it was so closely connected to her vision of artistry and perfumery.
With Marc Jacobs, Daisy, which supposedly is named after his dog.
Tell me what you think of the scent.
So, personal names have proven very popular. But what about a name like Rose of Peace, the fourth name on our list?
I think the name Rose of Peace is a very good name. It may be a little cliched and not surprising enough, but I think it would be a solid name.
Roses have been used since the beginning of perfumery.
Lift off of Space Shuttle Atlantis.
In fact, the fascination with roses extends all the way to outer space. In 1998, NASA famously sent roses into orbit to see if zero gravity affected the fragrance.
Apparently it revealed molecules that were not present when they're obviously on Earth in a gravity environment, so really fascinating.
Roses in space. That's a heck of a carbon footprint on that flower delivery.
Basis of all fine perfume is its bouquet.
Ironically, many of the ingredients that make fragrances so intoxicating come from some less than enchanted places.
Civet comes from a special gland that sits between the anus and the genitals of a civet cat.
Ambergris from Wales, worth £20,000 a block.
Ambergris, a briny and vomitous byproduct of the digestive system of sperm whales?
You aren't going to tell me what you've had on, are you?
And musk, secreted from a gland of the musk deer.
A subtle fragrance that never shouts.
We think it should be, made of ground up unicorn horn and bits of rainbow, and leprechauns come and bless it. Do leprechauns bless? I don't know. Nonetheless, we tend to think that's how perfume gets made, but it actually contains some disgusting ingredients.
Really?
Well, if most people understood what they were spraying on themselves, it would cause a scandal.
Only one more name remains on Barb's list. Noble Rose of Afghanistan.
I like the Noble Rose of Afghanistan. It is a great name because it threads all the elements very well.
I'd like to see if you could get that on a 2-ounce bottle.
The Noble Rose of Afghanistan is actually not bad in that it mentions Afghanistan, so there's some relationship to the cause.
It's too noble. You know what I mean? No. I don't like it.
Believe it or not, scents named for war go back hundreds of years.
Maybe one of the most poetic or romantic of all names was Je reviens, named by Worth, I will return, for it became one of the great symbols of hope for servicemen going off to battle as they gave bottles to their loved ones to say, I will return to you.
Launched in 1932 by the House of Worth in France, Je reviens is still in production today. Sifting through the history of perfume names leaves Barb with a lot to consider. However, she's running out of time. She's just received confirmation she can sell her fragrance at the Bay.
We're launching a new scent.
But she has to get that name first. In 1781, Creed created a fragrance for His Majesty King George III, launching one of the most illustrious dynasties in the history of fragrance. The famously mad king wanted the scent to remind him of one of his favorite things. Was it his dog, his leather gloves, or the sweat of his mistress? Find out after the break. King George III found the scent of common people so pleasant, he would rest his chin on his gloved hand and inhale the leather gloves' aroma to avoid theirs. He loved the smell so much, the king asked Creed to make a fragrance to match the scent of his gloves. After weeks of analyzing names, Barb's finally picked one. She's ready to tell the world and get her perfume on the shelves of the Bay.
Yeah, 152 is a name I will never use. I have too much respect for the brave soldiers who gave up their lives for our freedom.
Hi.
Hi, good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Are you familiar with our product?
No.
Barbed wire. Oh my. We source oils from countries in strife or war. I mean, really. I would put nothing on the label before I would put that.
I would like to take a bottle.
Oh,
of this,
fabulous.
please.
The Rose of Peace.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's too light. I want it to be a richer, more meaningful name.
Got me sold. I'll take one.
Lovely. I'll get you a gift back. To say forgiven or I forgive you, it could be misunderstood. It can assume you've wronged me. So there's room for confusion, which I wouldn't want to do. We're here to build peace. The Noble Rose of Afghanistan says it all. That is such a beautiful name. It will be something that everyone remembers.
Afghanistan's critical to the naming of this perfume because we have to make sure that people understand that this business, it's not a charity, is about empowering people in Afghanistan.
We can affect change. I mean, Mother Teresa said no act of charity is too small, so let's start with measuring it that way.
We love the name Noble Rose of Afghanistan. It really resonated with all of us. It satisfied everything I was looking for to honor the brave troops, to honor the brave farmers, and to honor the oils. And of course, it has the country name. Noble Rose of Afghanistan, for me, is the perfect name.